Hi guys, and welcome back to Phat Pack Magic, where we've got some awesome Vintage Cube gameplay here for you today. On the right, we've got Anthony running an Esper Planeswalker build. You saw his draft in the previous video, and if you haven't, check it out here. Now, on the left, we got Jimmy, who's running a Bant Flicker kind of deck. His is kind of a critical mass where you get a lot of payoff creatures, and you get some some Flicker abilities, and really kind of take control of the game. So if I'm Anthony, the kind of opening hand I'm looking for is just something easy, maybe a quick Planeswalker to kind of come down and maybe a body or two. But Anthony also has a Stoneforge Mystic that he can drop as early as turn 2. Or even turn 1. But we're starting off, Jimmy playing an Azorius Signet, and Anthony is fetching out a Watery Grave. And he's starting his turn right now with a draw. Now he plays an island, and down comes Baleful Strix and a very efficient 1/1 flyer with Death Touch that allows Anthony to draw a card. But Jimmy isn't too disturbed by it because he's going to play an Simic Signet, and then from the Simic Signet, he's going to blow up his Baleful Strix with the Knight of Autumn, leaving Jimmy with a 2/1 creature on the field and 5 beautiful mana on turn 3. Now Anthony, his turn 3 is a little lackluster because he's going to drop a Tithe Taker and pass the turn back. But Jimmy is just drawing out lands, playing the Misty Rainforest, while Anthony, he's okay. He's got a 2/1 blocker that's very efficient, and it looks like it's tapping 3, no 4, no 3. And what? Well, things are about to get hairy, because here comes Teferi, bouncing a Signet to Jimmy's hand and drawing a card, and Anthony has a 2/1 blocker that can trade with the Knight, or if Jimmy has some non-exile removal, that Tithe Taker is going to be a 1/1. But here comes the Signet again, and down comes Venser. And Venser is one of the incredibly powerful payoff cards that Jimmy is looking for, being able to get a lot of flicker ability, and he's going to do just that by flickering his Knight of Autumn and gaining 4 life. Turn passes back to Anthony, who plays the Plains and pumps up Teferi. Now the great thing about Teferi is that Anthony doesn't have to worry about combat tricks. Teferi basically causes Jimmy to play sorcery speed for his entire game that Teferi is out. And on top of that, Tithe Taker is going to make Jimmy pay an extra mana if the Teferi gets blown up. But Anthony is content to play a land and pass the turn back with Teferi oppressing the field. However, Jimmy has drawn something pretty interesting, but first he's going to flicker the Knight of Autumn with Venser, and then drop down Brago. And Brago is just a value flicker machine, and that Knight of Autumn comes into play with 2+1/+1 counters, but Anguish Unmaking is going to kill one of Jimmy's payoffs and take a bite out of Anthony's life total. However, Anthony is at a comfortable 16 life, and Jimmy has no pressure against him. That Teferi pluses up, and Anthony is trying to decide if he wants to make another play or just let his sorcery speed be instant. So now comes down Glint-Sieve Siphoner, which puts an energy on Anthony's side of the field. And that Siphoner is going to be able to start drawing Anthony some cards if Jimmy tries to go on the aggro here. So Jimmy trying to decide how he wants to angle attacks. And he's got to get that Teferi out of the way, because eventually it's going to be able to bounce and get Anthony another card, and you really don't want that. So Jimmy decides 4 at Teferi and 2 at Anthony's face, and Anthony is going to double block the Knight of Autumn. No combat tricks from Jimmy, but Anthony has a Vindicate, which clears the board and leaves Anthony with a 1/1 flying Spirit token. And he pluses Teferi, boops Jimmy for 1 down to 22, and 5/6. Here comes Sorin, Grim Nemesis, the Reverse Bob, which is going to deal damage to Jimmy based on the CMC of the revealed top card that goes to Anthony's hand. Unfortunately, the Reverse Bob reveals a land, but Jimmy also draws a land, and that's 9 mana sources from Jimmy's deck, and he would be crushed in card advantage by Anthony, because anything that he played, Anthony would be able to bounce back with the Teferi, and Sorin slowly ticking up into that ultimate where he could just swing at Jimmy for the team. Man, that was a brutal game. But here we go, game 2. Jimmy's on the play, and let's hope for a better hand this time around. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like something that Jimmy would want, and so he's going to decide to shuffle it back and try again. Anthony, on the other hand, is keeping his hand, and he looks fine with it. He's got Islands and Plains and a Stoneforge, which is awesome. And Jimmy's got a good mix. Lands and spells, that's what you want, Jimmy. And he tucks the Flickerwisp to the bottom and starts off with the Plains. Anthony plays Plains and passes it back. Jimmy plays a Mystic Gate. But Anthony answers a Mystic Gate with Stoneforge Mystic. And if I'm Jimmy, I'm terrified of a Batterskull. But Anthony reveals Sword of Truth and Justice. But Jimmy draws, plays a Mox Return and a land, and down comes Brago. So Anthony again with the Teferi bounces the Brago and boops Jimmy with that little Squire. Jimmy says, you know what, fine, I'm playing it again. Anthony effectively having time walked his opponent with that Teferi. Here comes another land. Anthony pluses Teferi and Swords to Plowshares the Brago. Jimmy gains 2 life, but loses 1 due to that Stoneforge Mystic. And here comes the Sword of Truth and Justice, but man, Jimmy's got the answer already in hand. Knight of Autumn, busting up that Sword of Truth and Justice and making that Stoneforge Mystic a little blocking Squire. But Anthony's fine with that because he's going to drop Karn and reveal the top 2, which is Mox and Fate's Fetters. Jimmy gives Anthony the Fate's Fetters, but if you're Jimmy, you're probably not worried about it anyways, because any kind of flicker effect can blink that Knight of Autumn and bust up the enchantment. But here's a way too late Library of Alexandria that's going to get busted up for a Mox Diamond, and Jimmy plays Tolsimir, which is going to eat the Stoneforge Mystic with a 3/3 Voja token, and now Jimmy finally has an offensive play. He's going to be able to start swinging at some Planeswalkers and getting them off the field, dealing 2 damage to Teferi and leaving it at 1. But Anthony plays a Plains Return. Nope, never mind. He's gonna reveal with Karn and reveal Plains and him to Torok. But Jimmy gives him the Plains anyways. Down come the Plains, plussing Teferi, pass the turn. Jimmy draws, and it can't really be that easy, right? Killing off Karn. I mean, he's got the power and toughness to do it. So here comes Ada Karn. But man, fractured identity. Exiles Tolsimir. Tolsimir comes into play on Anthony's field. The Wolf kills the Knight of Autumn and then blocks the other Voja token, leaving Anthony with a Tolsimir on his side of the field and +3 life. What a blowout. Wow. But Jimmy's got to follow up in the form of Deranged Hermit, which is going to make 4 2/2 squirrels. And Anthony is going to minus Karn and play the Mox Return, plus Teferi, land, and pass. And man, Anthony has a full grip of 6 cards in hand, and Jimmy's got 1. All this card advantage. And Jimmy pays the Echo cost. He's got 4 2/2 squirrels, and he needs to start getting in at these Planeswalkers. The amount of card advantage that Anthony has gained off of Karn and Teferi is just insane. So here comes some squirrels at Teferi. But Anthony taps the Mox, white, Anguish Unmaking, decimating that Hermit, and then Anthony playing Lingering Souls, instant speed, blocking 2 squirrels, and then a third with Tolsimir. Teferi only takes 1 point of damage, and all Jimmy has on his side of the field is a squirrel. Anthony pluses Teferi, pluses Karn, gets a land, and down comes Sorin. And Sorin is gonna plus up, and there's Forbid. Now, a lot of people underestimate Forbid, but Forbid, withdrawing 2 extra cards a turn, basically locks Jimmy out of the game. He's got 1 turn to actually make a play, and he does it by starting with sacking the Horizon Canopy, drawing a card, and there's Imperial Recruiter. So he's going to cast a Signet, cast Imperial Recruiter. What can he find in his deck that can pull him out of this situation? And in truth, not a lot. Maybe Mole Drifter, maybe the other one, but no, he's going to opt for the Flicker Wisp, which could flicker that Tolsimir out of the game and leave Jimmy with a 3/1 flyer. But Anthony's got the Forbid, and he decides to play the Urborg, minus it to get him. Him discards the 2 cards in Jimmy's hand, reveal the top, and it's Angel of Sanctions, dealing 5 to Jimmy. And Sorin is so close to ultimate right now. He's got 2 turns before he can pop off. Teferi pluses, swinging at Jimmy for 3. Jimmy says fine, whatever. Takes it, goes down to 7. But that Forbid is going to lock up the game, because Jimmy will not be able to cast anything. Yep, and there's the handshake. Jimmy being a great sport as always, a great player and a great lover of the game. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. But man, was that a harsh game. Anthony proving just how impressive and just how powerful Teferi can be by locking your opponent into their own game, into their own turn, and their main phase at that. Man, that is harsh. Teferi is definitely worth an investment of $30 to $40 for the foil version if you're doing a cube, by the way. I bought it and it looks amazing, and it does so much stuff to the game. Oh my god. But that's it for us this time. Stay tuned for next time. And man, thank you guys so much for watching. Check us out on Instagram. Check us out on Patreon. If you like content like this, help me help you get more content and get more videos going. And until next time, may all your packs be fat.